Hi everyone, and welcome to another reading vlog. I think this is like my new vlogging angle because it's the only place in my room where I can set up my camera and it's hands-free and I don't have to get my tripod out. So if it's there, I'm going to use it, which means you're probably going to be seeing me from this angle quite a lot in this video. However, it isn't the most like glasses friendly angle because it's a little too head-on with the lights and there's a lot of reflections happening. So I might take my glasses off for this portion of the video, but it is the Disney read-along, which if you're not familiar with it, the Disney read-along is a Disney-themed readathon that I host every year in May. This year it's happening from May 16th to the 22nd, and all of the challenges are based around Disney movies, characters, music, so on and so forth. And this year we're having a watch-along of Beauty and the Beast, which is going to take place on the 21st, I believe. And I'm not sure if this is going to be like a week-long reading vlog, in which case all of the information I just gave you isn't helpful, or I might split it up into a couple of different vlogs. We'll just see how much I feel like vlogging. So I'm not gonna lie, it is actually the second day of the readathon. I really wanted to start yesterday, but things happen and sometimes you have to start vlogging a day late. The important part is that I did start reading a book yesterday and I made pretty decent progress in it so far, and that is The Anatomical Shape of a Heart by Jen Bennett. This is my 5th Jen Bennett book. I've read 4 of her other books and I've loved every single one of them. So this is not her first book, but it is her first book in the contemporary romance genre, which is the only genre of book I've ever read from her. So I had no idea what this book was actually about. I kind of went into it blind, but it turns out we're following our main character called Beatrix. Fabulous name, by the way, but she is an artist that mainly draws bodies and anatomy, and she really wants to draw cadaver bodies because she wants to enter it into an art contest, I believe, and it would also just look really good in her portfolio to have drawn like anatomy directly from the source. So I think she tries to meet with a professor, I believe, and the professor never shows up, so she ends up taking a really late bus home, and on that bus ride home she meets a young man called Jack, and she's kind of immediately infatuated with him, but she suspects that he might be this infamous graffiti artist that has been leaving words spray painted around the town, and nobody knows who it is, but at this point it's happened so many times that whoever they catch would end up facing felony charges, and she suspects that it might be Jack. So that is basically the setup to the story. I'm on page 168 of this book, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I don't think I like it quite as much as her other books. Like, it's just not quite having the same effect on me that her other books do, but I'm still enjoying it. I think maybe her writing slash her like character development isn't quite as good in this book as it is in some of her other ones, which in the long run is a good thing because you can totally tell how she has grown in her writing and just grown as an author in general. So I am still really enjoying it though, don't get me wrong. This is definitely not the book for everybody though, because like I said in the synopsis, there is a bit of an insta-love that goes down in this book, but it happens in such a way that was kind of relatable to me, to the ways that I was when I was more of a teenager, and probably still now. Like, when you just get infatuated with someone when you first see them, and like, maybe it's not love at first sight as much as it's very much like just being infatuated with a person. I feel like at one time in our life we can all kind of relate to that. So even though it is a bit insta-lovey, it's in a way that I'm okay with. I don't know if that really makes sense. But the thing that I really love about Jen Bennett's books is that she always takes on a lot of heavier topics, which again I know isn't going to be for everybody because some people go into these books and they're just looking for a romance, whereas I really enjoy dealing with these more heavier subplots because too much romance can be a little too much for me, and I think she finds the perfect balance between these heavier topics and then the like light cutesy romance side of it. So I really enjoy it, and she deals with topics that are pretty relatable to a lot of people, so for me it makes her stories even more realistic and also just relatable for me. So yeah, that is my reading update as of right now. As far as the rest of the afternoon, one thing that I really want to do is I want to get back into journaling because I've kind of neglected it for probably like a month now, which is really bad for me. So I want to get back into it, and I want to make a journal spread for the Disney read-along with like all of the challenges, so every time I complete one, I can check one off. So I'm gonna do that, and we'll just have to see how it comes out. Hi guys, so it is now the next day, which makes it day 3 of the Disney read-along, and I just finished the Anatomical Shape of a Heart. So this completes the Queen of Hearts challenge, which is to read a book with a heart either on the cover or in the title, and this has both of those things. So I ended up settling on a 3.5 star rating for this book because while I did still really enjoy it, I didn't like it quite as much as her other books. My favorites are probably Chasing Lucky, and I think Starry Eyes was probably my second favorite, and usually I give her books like between a 4 and a 4.5 star rating, so I thought 3.5 would be a good rating for this book. And I know for some people like 3 and 3.5 is like not a good rating, but in my book and in my system of rating, this is still very much like a recommendable book, so I would still recommend this book to you if you are interested in picking it up. So yeah, that is one book completed. As you guys saw, or I guess didn't see, I didn't do any journaling last night because I just wasn't really feeling very well. I was trying to do some reading sprints and I had to cut them short because I just wasn't feeling very well. So that is also why I didn't finish that book last night. I was literally like 60 pages from finishing that book and I just couldn't do it. So I had to finish them this morning. But now it's like, what time is it? It's like 10 o'clock. I have to go to work, and I'm only dressed in work appropriate attire from the waist up. So I should probably go, and then when I get home from work, we will see what I'm going to pick up next. So it is now 5:56 in the evening, and I just got home from work and ate dinner, which for you guys was like the blink of an eye, and for me it was many, many hours. But in that time, I may or may not have acquired a new book because there is a Barnes & Noble at the mall that I work at, which it's funny, in the old mall that I worked at before I switched locations, there was a Disney store, which wasn't very good for my bank account, and I was very sad to be leaving behind the Disney store when I moved to a different mall, but then I gained a Barnes & Noble, so like, is it really a loss? For my wallet, yes. But I ended up buying Sunkissed by Casey West. If you don't know, Casey West is one of my favorite contemporary romance authors, and I've read every single one of her books except for this one because this is her newest release. I think it came out on May 4th. But this was actually one of the books that I was originally going to read for this readathon because it has hearts on the cover and it's also a new release, so it would have worked for 2 of the challenges. But when I was like getting all of the books from the library that I was going to use for this challenge, this one, all of Casey West's other books have been in the library system, and they still are, and anytime she comes out with a new one, not very often do I actually buy it. Usually I'd get it from the library, but they didn't even have this on order, and now that the book has actually come out, like, it's still not on order, and they still don't have any copy in their system, so I just kind of had to bite the bullet and buy an actual copy of this book. So as much as I really do want to read this book, it really wouldn't complete many other challenges except for one, so I'm gonna hold off on that one, and instead I'm going to pick up the Paris Library. This is, I think, the biggest book that I have on my TBR. It's like 350 pages, so it's not that big. It's like an average size book, but I was specifically trying to find like shorter books because I know that I'm not going to have as much time to read this week. But I'm pretty excited for this one, and this completes 3 of the challenges. The Enchantress Challenge, the Raya and the Last Dragon Challenge, and what was the other one? Oh, that's right, the challenge of reading a book that is set in the same country or city as your favorite Disney film. So yeah, this completes quite a few challenges, so I want to get this book out of the way. I was gonna save it till the end, but I am running a little bit behind in how much progress I should be at this point in the readathon. So in order to kind of catch up with how much I should have read, I need to be halfway through this book by noon tomorrow, and I have to go to work again tomorrow at 10 o'clock is when I have to leave. So I should probably get a head start tonight.
You hear that, Samson? Beautiful. Good enough.
So it is now day 5 of the Disney read-along. I just filmed a video, so I thought I'd take advantage of my camera and my lighting being set up and film a little update to tell you guys what is going on and how much of a disaster this week has been. So as you saw or didn't see, I didn't film at all yesterday because I didn't really read it all yesterday, and that's where we're at. I kind of shared my frustrations on Twitter, so if you follow me on Twitter you may have seen it, but I only host this readathon 1 week in the year. Last year I did it twice, and maybe I'll do that again this year, but I only host it once, and so I really tried to make this week enjoyable and a good week for reading, and I was like especially looking forward to it this year because I really love all of the challenges this year, and this week just ended up being one of the worst weeks of 2021 just with what is going on with my personal life and my living situation and moving and stuff like that. I went to view an apartment yesterday, but we ended up just meeting with the property management person. We weren't actually able to look at the apartment. So I know that I like reference this stuff quite often on my channel, but I never really go into details, and it's just because it involves other people, and like I'm not here to air anybody else's dirty laundry out on the internet. So that's why I'm very vague whenever I talk about these things, but this week has just been really bad when it comes to all of that stuff. So I've been struggling a lot with vlogging, I've been struggling a lot with reading. As far as my reading goes, I read about 50 pages of the Paris Library. I will get the exact number for you. I read 52 pages, and unfortunately I'm just not really enjoying this book, which is especially sad if you know how excited I was for this book, but it's just a bit boring right now. It's kind of slow, so I just don't think I'm going to have a lot of success if I continue to read this book, even though it would have completed 3 of the challenges. So I've decided I'm going to put this book down for now. I'm not DNFing it for good. I'm definitely going to come back to it later because I do really want to read that book. I feel like it would be a book that I enjoy, and I'm a little bit nervous that maybe the reason I'm not enjoying it is because I'm having so much of a bad week, but hopefully that's not the case, and if I just return to it at another time, I will enjoy it. So I instead decided last night at like midnight to pick up Sunkissed by Casey West. If you saw in the other clip, I just really wanted to pick this book up, and so I did, and I read about 100 pages of it. I'm on chapter 12, and so far, I'm not super impressed with this book. The characters are a little bit irritating, which is not something that I've ever had happen with any of Casey West's books. So yeah, that's a little nerve-wracking, again, because I hope it's not just because of my mindset right now that I'm not enjoying these books, but hopefully as I read a little bit more I will get more into the story. But at least in today alone I've made over 100 pages of progress, so that's pretty good, and hopefully, even though I'm a bit behind now because that book, like I said, would have completed 3 challenges, so now I'm kind of trying to scramble for other books that are very short and will also complete the challenges, but I'm really going to give it my best shot. There's still 2.5 days left of this readathon, and I'm gonna try and make this vlog more interesting in those 2.5 days. I'm going to try and get a lot more reading progress in those 2.5 days than I have in these first 4 days. So yeah, hopefully this reading vlog is still interesting for anybody watching. I'm sorry that you're literally like watching my mental health decline as the week goes on and I haven't vlogged like half the days. I was thinking about just scrapping this whole vlog because it's been going so badly, but I just feel like that would, 1, be a waste of my time, which always frustrates me whenever I feel like I've wasted my time, and 2, it would feel too much like admitting defeat. I really want to try and make this better and make this a successful readathon week. So that's what I'm going to try and do these last 2.5 weeks. We'll see how it goes, but I really am going to try my best. And thank you for sticking with me if you have made it this far in the vlog. Hi guys, so it is now the second to last day of the readathon, and this morning I finished Sunkissed by Casey West, so this completes the Raya and the Last Dragon challenge of reading a new release, and I am so sad to say that I'm only giving this book 2 stars. This is the worst rating I have ever given a Casey West book, and it really pains me to say that, and I am a little bit concerned that I'm like, is this book not that good, or is it just because of the headspace that I'm in at the moment? I don't know. I just know that I found this main character to be so annoying, and I didn't even like the love interest either. Like, sometimes I can find the main characters to be annoying, but usually I enjoy the love interest or the side characters or stuff like that, but even the love interest, didn't really like him. I actually preferred the main character's little sister, who is 15, and she's like, basically does what I do. She's like a social media person. She makes like YouTube videos, and the whole time our main character talks not so nice about her little sister and what she does, and I kind of took that personally because we do the same thing. And I mean, granted, it was for like a character arc at the end of the story, but I just didn't really like it. I found her really annoying throughout the whole book, so I'm only giving this 2 stars. But that leaves me with only about 36 hours left of the readathon, and I only have 3 challenges left to complete, 2 of which I would have completed with the Paris library book, which now I'm not reading, so I have to find another book to cover those challenges. So the challenges for that book was to read a book that is set in the same city or country as one of my favorite Disney films. So for that, I'm reading a book set in Paris for The Hunchback of Notre Dame and Ratatouille. And the other challenge that that book would have completed was the Enchantress challenge of reading a book that I either bought because of the cover or avoided because of the cover. So I think the book that I am going to pick up for those 2 challenges is going to be The Paris Hours by Alex George. This is obviously set in Paris, so it will work for that challenge. And then as far as the Enchantress challenge, well, this isn't a book that I bought because of the cover, because this is from the library. I absolutely adore this cover. I'm not really sure why. I think it's a mix because green in all of its various shades is one of my favorite colors, and I also particularly like the patterned carpeting on the staircase. I love like patterned carpeting, patterned wallpaper, like very bright colored carpeting. I wish I would have lived through the 70s because I would have had such a fun time with like 60s, 70s, 80s home decor and just living out my dreams in my flare bell-bottom pants listening to Michael Jackson and Leif Garrett, and it would have been fabulous. But nonetheless, I super love the cover of this book, so I feel like it will work for the Enchantress challenge also. So I did actually already start reading it, and I'm on page 24, and I'm on chapter 7. The chapters are really short, which I love. I'm hoping that means I will get through it pretty quickly, and this book, I believe, only takes place over the course of 1 day, which I'm hoping will help me be able to read it over the course of only 1 day. So we will see how it goes, but I'm going to try my best. So it is nearly 8 o'clock in the evening, and I am on page 116 of the Paris Hours, which is a little less than halfway through it, but I am really enjoying this. It does read a little bit like a classic. It's a little dense in its writing, so I'm reading it a bit slower than I thought I would, but I'm really enjoying it, and I will tell you more about the plot tomorrow when hopefully I finish it, because for now I'm taking a little break from reading because I'm about to start our Beauty and the Beast watch along, and I am very excited. This is one of my favorite Disney films, and it seems like all of my favorite Disney films are set in France. I'm just realizing that now. There seems to be a pattern. Hi guys, so it is now the next morning, which makes it the final day of the readathon, and I've just finished the Paris Hours, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, which I'm so happy about because even though this readathon got off to a very rocky start. At least we ended on a high note. And at the moment, I feel as though this book is like my little hidden gem because not a lot of people have read it on Goodreads, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about it on BookTube, so it kind of feels like my own little special book that I know about. But now I'm about to tell all of you about it also. Because I enjoyed it that much, I want you to enjoy it also. So in this book, we follow 4 main characters, and it obviously takes place in Paris over the span of one day, although quite a few of the chapters are actually flashback chapters, so technically it's not just a one-day kind of book because we do get flashbacks. So it takes place, the majority of it, in 1927 though, and we're following 4 characters like I said. The first character that we follow, actually I'm not sure if I'm naming them in the actual order that they appear, but the first one that we follow is a puppeteer. We also follow a man who is looking for his daughter. We follow another man who owes quite a bit of money, and he has to get this money that he owes within this one day. He is a painter as well, and if he doesn't get this money in that one day, then he is going to be killed for not paying his debt. And then the fourth character that we follow is a woman who, her husband sells this notebook that she has, and it wasn't his to sell, and she is desperately trying to get it back because if what is in this notebook gets out, it could ruin her and her family. So she's on the hunt for this notebook. And then the flashback scenes is how we get to see how these characters got into the situations that they are in today. It is super, super interesting. This is definitely not going to be a book for everybody though, because for the most part, it is kind of mundane. Like, there's not anything super exciting that happens until, like, I guess the last 2 chapters maybe. But still, somehow, with the way that the author writes it, you're just super intrigued with these people's lives and, like, how they ended up in the situations that they're in today and how they're going to resolve them in just one day. And also, I think a lot of people might not like this book because of the ending. It has, like, a good ending, but at the same time, it is a frustrating ending. Like, I'm frustrated by the ending of the book, but also, like, it was a good ending. I don't know if that makes any sense, but, like, that's what it was. So I really enjoyed this book. Not sure if I sold it to you or not, but nonetheless, this completes 2 challenges. The challenge of reading a book that is set in the same city as my favorite Disney movies, which is The Hunchback of Notre Dame and Ratatouille, both of which are set in Paris. And this also completes the Enchantress challenge of reading a book that you either bought because of the cover or avoided because of the cover. We already went over the fact that this book is a little bit of a stretch for that challenge, but nonetheless, I'm going to use it. So it is only the morning, but I do have to get to work. I work from 1 to 7 today, and there was one more book that was on my TBR, which was Mexican Gothic, but I just don't think I'm going to be able to read the entirety of that book in a day. So I think I'm just going to wrap this up here, because frankly, I could read when I get home from work, but usually I'm pretty tired, and I'm just kind of burnt out from the week, to be completely honest. So we'll just do a quick little wrap up of all the books that I read and the challenges that I completed. So the first book that I finished this week was The Anatomical Shape of a Heart by Jen Bennett. This completed the Queen of Hearts challenge of reading a book with either a heart on the cover or in the title. This has both. And I think I'm also going to use this for the Meet the Robinsons challenge, which was to read a book about family, because while this book is mainly a romance, it has 2 bigger subplots that both revolve around family. One of them revolves around the main character's family, and one of them revolves around the love interest family. So I feel like it works for this challenge, so we're going to say that this completed those 2 challenges. The second book that I finished was Sunkissed by Casey West, and this completed the Raya and the Last Dragon challenge of reading a new release. And then finally we have the Paris Hours, which completed the Enchantress challenge and the challenge of reading a book set in the same city as my favorite Disney film. So that is 3 books read and all 5 challenges completed in one way or another, even if sometimes they were a little bit of a stretch. So even though this week was a little bit of a mess for me, I still think it was a pretty successful readathon. If you participated, I hope you had a successful week also. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you read any of these books and what you thought of them. I'd love to discuss them with you in the comments. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!
You hear that, Samson?